So the Lament Configuration Guardian is essentially someone who offers the puzzle boxes to people who want to meet the Cenobites, visit hell, get torn into bits and pieces, you know, the whole shenanigan. They protect and love the box and ensure that it is not destroyed at any cost. In fact, they are essentially demons who may sometimes look like a dragon. However, there's much more than that to an Eremite or Lament Configuration Guardian. These guys are brought to life through a very complex and intricate process and are actually the children of a very unique Cenobite. So in this video, we'll explore everything there is to explore about these magnificent minions of hell. Let's begin, shall we? Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Once you choose to open the box and unleash its power, there is no returning.
Who is the Keeper, or Eremite? Eremites are the small, wild offspring of the Cenobite Orno and a human. Orno sends his essence to Earth, sort of like a supernatural FedEx, and 9 months later, you've got an Eremite baby. You could say that these are demons in human skin, quite literally. Anyway, fast forward 16 years, and these kids get a special gift from Orno, a puzzle box they've got to guard. It's like a twisted birthday present that serves as a coming-of-age ritual. Now, Orno's job in the Hellraiser comics is crafting new roads to hell and playing daddy to these puzzle guardians. As far as his appearance is concerned, like most Cenobites, it's pretty out there. He has ghostly white skin and dresses in heavy blue robes, with his chest on show. His face has a silver arrow pin cushion with wires pulling his skin in all sorts of direction. The puzzle box guardians, on the other hand, Eremites, or Keepers as some of them are called, take care of the puzzle boxes 24/7, and they essentially serve as the ultimate secret agents or sleeper cells of hell, hiding these bad boys and keeping them safe. Unlike their Cenobite cousins, who love to hang out together, Eremites are lone wolves. Their mission is to keep Leviathan's will alive on Earth all by themselves. They're the caretakers of these hellish toys, passing them on and making sure they're out of harm's way. Dressed in human skin, these guardians blend in, pull the strings, and deal out these boxes like they're the hottest thing since sliced bread. And these grandmasters of the whole damnation game have been playing on behalf of Leviathan and serving hell for quite a while now. Maze of the Mind. In this short story from the 5th issue of Clive Barker's Hellraiser, we get to see exactly how Orno works. We meet Orno, reveling in the fact that Leviathan loves him, not for his flesh, but for his mind. He creates new guardians and avenues to hell. His own private hell was not his flesh, but his thoughts. He had a mind that was constantly searching for a pure formula or equation. In fact, the box became his mathematical gateway. Using his mind to create puzzle boxes or gateways gave him the means to shed his fleshy form and get closer to the purity of an equation. Orno believes that flesh is not important. It's something you test the elasticity of, so that's how trivial and redundant it is. To fulfill this task, he was provided with everything he needed by Leviathan. He had his own private workshop in hell, and whenever Leviathan called, it became Orno's job to create new guardians and gateways. In the story, we see a few Cenobites bringing in a man who is only referred to as raw material in the comic, a befitting name for someone whose only purpose in life was to serve as a step in something else's creation. As for the raw material, their exterior and flesh were not important. What was important was their insides. Orno brought the raw material and made him sit on a chair with multiple tubes that were then fixed onto the raw material's body. One of these tubes covered his mouth, and Orno's own seed was poured in. After that, he sliced open the raw material's scalp and skull to reveal the brain. Orno calls this step the opening of the maze. He reads the maze of the mind and feels his immortality, including all his quirks, expectations, and so-called carnal desires. The mind of the raw material in question was not a complex one, but Orno believes that it was enough to start with. After this preliminary reading, the next step is to taste the brain, which is outright gross. I mean, so is everything else, but this one gave straight-up cannibalistic vibes. This was all about preparing the raw material. But what about the gateway itself? The box. Well, he picks up one blank box, many of which created the whole gateway. He says that each of these must be shaped and formed. The pieces are cut, and each part reflects some strengths and some weaknesses. They grow together to bring life to a new gateway. Then he packs up the cut open raw material. In the last leg of this preparatory process, Orno feeds the raw material with the desire to reproduce. This desire will give Orno the guardian he needs, someone who would protect and love the box. The raw material is sent back to Earth, where he mates with a prostitute. However, after the deed is done, the raw material doesn't live to see the next sunrise. He dies immediately. Something about how Orno's genes should not be passed on and whatnot. Nevertheless, even the mother dies during childbirth, and as I mentioned earlier, the child becomes a guardian of the puzzle box when he turns 16. So the avenues to hell are paved by Orno's genes. Another guardian in the comic. Now, the story Dead Man's Hand from Clive Barker's Hellraiser issue 1 introduces us to a new puzzle guardian, and this one would also go on to appear in the Pinhead comic series. Dead Man's Hand is essentially a western and begins in a small hamlet called Carver's Creek. The place was inhabited by people who liked to live a slow life, you know, going to the local bar, playing some cards, going back to their wives, that sort of thing. So not much of anything ever took them by surprise, except that one time when the stranger came to town. Until this date, some folks believe that he was the devil himself. The stranger approaches a man named Jed Lawson, a man who loved his gambling. So this man, our stranger, tells Jed that he has a game for him. What was the game? Well, straight poker, one hand face up. If the stranger won, he would get everything that Jed owned, and if Jed won, he would receive the most valuable thing on Earth, the Lament configuration. Unfortunately, Jed agreed to play the game. People in the town had heard of this sort of tale before. Some folks were ruined for lives, and some just disappeared. It's fairly clear that the former were the ones who lost the game, but the latter, those who won. Jed was not the best of men, a bully from the beginning. As he grew up, he started drinking and made his wife's life a living hell. So, would you say that Jed was about to receive what he deserved? I'll leave that to your better judgment. Why? Well, he wasn't all bad. He had some good in his life. He would also donate to the poor. He did marry out of love and that sort of thing. Nevertheless, the stranger played the game and made Jed believe that he had won fair and square. But we all know that the reality was far from it, and the man wanted Jed to win. But plot twist, a major plot twist, the stranger tells Jed that he promised to give Jed the most valuable thing on Earth, and he did exactly so. But not by giving the puzzle box to Jed, but by taking it away, and the stranger left the bar on his horse.
Oh my God.
The Guardian in movies. Starting in Hellraiser, Frank Baker steps in as the puzzle guardian. This guy had a creepy nature, which was quite expected. He showed up in England and freaked out Kirsty Cotton big time. He strolls into her pet shop and goes to town on a bunch of crickets. Not your average customer behavior. Then, when Kirsty and her beau Steve try to torch the Lament configuration, our puzzle guardian swoops in to save the box. He then turns into a skeletal dragon and flies away. At the end of Hellraiser 2, we had Little John taking the mantle of the Lament configuration guardian. He had the cricket-covered face on the Pillar of Souls. In Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, Lawrence Mortorf was our man. He was playing the puzzle guardian who deals with a nightclub owner, J.P. Monroe. But when Joey Summerskill and Terry snooped around a week later, the gallery was shut tighter than a drum, with a sign saying the owner's off living it up in Hawaii. In Hellraiser 6, Hellseeker, Doug Bradley takes the reins. The puzzle guardian had a new gig running a sweatshop in a warehouse. When Trevor Gooden rocks up after getting a cryptic business card, the guardian sells him the Lament configuration, warning him that the cost is more than he can fathom. So that was all in this one. You should also check out our exploration of Pinhead's entire life. It's 1 hour of pure Pinhead lore, and for the fans of Hellraiser, it would be a treat to the eyes and ears to journey through Pinhead's life as described in the comics and movies. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.